Thank you, Corla. The purpose of this bill is to extend the emergency period specified in the Planning and Development and Residential Tenancy Act 2020 until the 12th of January 2022. The aim is to further assist tenants financially impacted by COVID-19 while recognising and balancing the rights of the landlords. Under the new regulations, which the government plans to have passed into law by the summer, renters will only be required to supply a deposit and month's rent in advance, and the total value will not be allowed to exceed the value of 2 months' rent. The measures include students who are living in student-specific accommodation, and I'd like to, give some time talking about students and the difficulties they're finding to get accommodation, and the difficulties they've experienced over the last number of months paying rent for accommodation, then not accessing the accommodation, the difficulty to get back the monies that they paid. It's been a nightmare for many students, and we find our officers are dealing with these issues on a regular basis, and it's very unfair that there's some little safeguards put in place for students in this country. They deserve the respect. They're trying to start off in their lives. They're working so hard. They finding to access a SUSI grant. If they're 10 cents over their little bit of earnings that they might have been doing working for the summer, they're disqualified from getting a SUSI grant. So it's all stacked against the young people in this country in relation to student accommodation, and the lack of housing in total, Minister, is an absolute scandal in this country. And I've heard during the week there that Leo Varadkar was dreaming. He must have walked out at some side of the bid there one morning and thought he'd dream he could build 40,000 houses. He was long enough inside in government, he built nothing. So I can't understand how he can dream that up and try and sell that whole story out there to the public. And of course, RT and the media will give him loads of time to talk about the nonsensical dreams he has, whereas other people here who have realistic thoughts and realistic views on people getting housing, no one will get an airplay like some people can get, and that leads me on to the lack of this crisis that we face in relation to rural planning. And I can assure you, Minister, we're looking at the very same situations we see today, a fine peaceful process where thousands of fishermen from West Cork and from Kerry and from Donegal and Wexford and Galway came to Dublin to fight their case. You have the very same situation about rural planning, where young people who genuinely want to live in their community, want to work in their community, want to not to be a burden on the state, want to loan, get out there and build a home, a happy home for themselves, and are being denied. In West Cork, every planning that's been put forward has been refused. So it's super, maybe that's a kind of a Green Party policy anyhow, is to make sure they ruin people's lives going forward. But it's scandal beyond belief that every planning that's put before them, there's an excuse and a hurdle. And you know what, I wouldn't mind if there's an architectural issue, because that can be changed, or if there's a genuine entrance, that could be changed. But it's all this old scenic nonsense. I have a situation, one planning down in West Cork, it can't be seen anywhere. When the planners decide to call it, it's an issue. It's a scenic landscape issue. So we have an awful crisis in relation to planning in this country, and it's going to lead to an outcry. And we don't talk about the sewage issues that haven't been dealt with in West Cork, Castledown's Inn, Goleen. I've been mentioning forever. And places like, we look at the county development plans. They're telling us to grow. Towns can grow, and towns can this and that. Towns are going nowhere. Rural towns and villages, living over the shop, no encouragement to give grants to people to turn around their lives and try and live in rural communities, as rural communities can offer so much to young people out there today, and young couples that want to start off in their life. Thank you.